Darren Hayes of Darren Technology. Welcome to Irish Startup TV.
Thank you very much.
Can you explain where we are?
Yeah, so right now we're down in the IMERC campus, which is in Ringaskiddy in Cork. IMERC is a government agency that's set up to tie in the National Marine College, which is on our left, UCC Beaufort Research, which is on our right, and the Naval Base, which is just over the bridge in Haulbowline. So down at IMERC, their remit from the government is to grow the marine industry in Ireland. This facility we're in here is an incubation site for industries that are involved with the marine industry in Ireland.
So growing marine tech.
Exactly, which is why we're down here.
So tell us a bit more about Darren Technology. You've got a turbine.
Yeah, so to bring it back a bit, I guess, I developed the concept of the business while I was studying a master's degree in marine renewable energy in UCC. And while I was studying, I was being shown all these great maps about Europe and Ireland's amazing offshore renewable energy resource. At the same time, I was looking at maps that showed exactly what we were harnessing of this energy, particularly in Ireland. And there was a huge gap there because in Ireland we've put 11 offshore wind turbines out in 2001 and we haven't added a single one to them since.
Is that on the kit?
That is the Arklow Bank.
Yes.
Yeah, so there's 25 megawatts out there. So I was looking at this saying, what's the story here? What's the problem? So I did some more research into it, and fundamentally the problem has come down to two things. The first of all is the access to the electricity grid, which can take anything from 5 years on to get a strong point on the grid to connect into. And secondly, the market supports that are required to support these projects, which in simpler terms mean they're too expensive. So I developed Darren Technology by thinking of ways renewable energy resources could be harnessed usefully and quickly while circumventing those two main barriers to the deployment of the technology.
So with wind, I guess there's two big issues. One is how do you get it into people's homes, or how do you store it, and the other is how do you maintain the reliability. Wind is quite inconsistent in Ireland, even though we are very windy.
It is, and actually it's less of a problem up here because we have high capacity factors, so it is quite windy, as you say. It's more of a problem down in Germany. So that is one of the problems. I don't see it as being one of the key problems because you're still harnessing an available resource, and it's better to do that than trying to bring oil that's dug from 10 kilometers deep off Saudi Arabia somewhere.
Absolutely, but on the note of the storage, so it's quite difficult. We don't necessarily know in certain circumstances when the wind is going to blow, but you notice this niche that ships basically require batteries.
Exactly. So the beauty of what we're doing actually is my industry experience in chartering vessels showed me this major problem. The amount of time I spent standing on a vessel because it was too windy outside actually gave me the insight to the problem.
So I suppose typically, to give an example for somebody that maybe doesn't have a marine background, so ships they basically use energy everything else. How typically is a ship powered? So
it's typically powered using its diesel generator. So even when it's underway or when it's stopped, which is the point we want to focus on, it'll create power from its diesel generator.
So you found yourself one day standing out on deck, being blown asunder,
waiting for the wind to stop, and obviously paying the bills for them burning that fuel in the generator as well.
And was this offshore? You're waiting for the wind to stop before you could bring the ship to port.
Exactly. So sorry, the vessel was stopped, but we were on anchor in a sheltered cove essentially. So that is the beauty of what we're doing, because this downtime for the vessels coincides with the time that wind is optimum to create the wind energy. So they need it, they create it, they use it, and that's it.
Fantastic. So you've created a turbine that can be retrofitted onto existing ships' engineering, onto their cranes.
Yeah.
And you can basically launch a turbine where and when you need it to recharge your batteries.
Exactly. Like the operation of the turbine is quick and easy due to its unique design. So when downtime occurs and the vessel is sitting there doing nothing, the turbine can quickly be assembled using the onboard crane. It harnesses the available wind resource, reducing the fuel costs and saving the emissions at the same time.
Fantastic. And how did you come about this? So you mentioned that you were involved in chartering vessels. Are you an engineer by?
Yeah. So my background, I guess I studied engineering at undergrad, and then I've spent kind of 7 or 8 years working in industry. Took a year off to do the masters, went back for a year, and here I am with their technology.
How do you go about creating a turbine? What was the jumping off point?
Yeah, well, it's been a long process, I guess. The first thing I had to do obviously was develop it at a concept level and run it by people in industry to make sure I wasn't bananas.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that sort of validation bit took a while. You know, trying to figure out how to explain the product to people.
So it was just an idea then at that stage?
Yeah, exactly. So since then, you know, I was actually lucky. At one point I got a bit of advice saying the chances of me developing this on my own were remote. And they were absolutely right. So what I looked at doing then was sort of building a team around me. So that's why we have Patrick in here now as the design engineer. So a lot of the work me and him do is on the engineering side of things.
So did you seek a co-founder, or did you seek to start to build out the concept by yourself?
No, I found co-founders. It was the first step in the process before I actually registered the business.
Okay, and what was involved in that process?
I was lucky. I had met Patrick when I was studying in UCC, so I knew him very well and I knew his capabilities. So that was a simple conversation with Patrick. On the finance side of things, it was a little more complicated because I didn't know finance people, but just had to dig into a network of contacts essentially. Found a guy, met him, spoke to him, and he's been on board since.
Fantastic. So where is the project at the moment?
Yeah, so at the minute we're in sort of a 6-month prototyping stage. So what we're doing now that we're down here in Imerk is building a proper prototype. So we're starting at 5 kilowatts, which is a 5-meter rotor diameter. We plan on perfecting that prototype over the next 6 months, at which point we will be looking for further investment and to build out the company then.
And what are the next big milestones then? Will it be raising that extra bit of money to build the product further?
I think the first bit is finishing the prototype and getting that working on somebody's vessel. That's milestone number 1. Milestone number 2 is the investment.
And what kind of challenges have you faced? You mentioned already the tapping into a network was an opportunity to solve the challenge of finding good co-founders.
Yeah, I guess the biggest challenge we faced is generating revenue and cash that we can fund this prototype stage with. It's the technology development side of things. It's a long road until you actually start getting sales in. So, you know, the first 6-7 months of this year have been focused on how do we fund the prototype stage and give ourselves enough of a lifeline for me to leave my job and for, you know, to get that 6-7 months to when we feel we can pull in the next bit of investment.
So are you working part-time still at the moment?
No, I'm full-time now.
You're full-time on the business now?
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And are you enjoying it?
Yeah, I'm loving it.
Really? Super.
I never thought 15-hour days would be so rewarding. But it's really good. It's you know, obviously heading up the business here, you have to and get to deal with absolutely every single element of the business. So every day I'm coming in here and I'm learning new stuff, figuring out new stuff, and really just using that to develop myself and the business, obviously.
When you came out of school, or perhaps out of university, did you feel like the startup world was the world for you? Did you know anything about startups?
No. It's funny, you know, I was involved with Ireland's Best Young Entrepreneur last year.
Okay.
And it was kind of a speculative application I put in. You know, I had this, you know, what I feel is a really strong kind of concept or philosophy behind the business. It's the second day
as I said it earlier.
You know, so like I was in two minds whether to develop or to enter a competition on entrepreneurship. I feel if I didn't enter that competition, I'd have almost certainly found a way to talk myself out of what I'm doing now.
Really?
Along the way, yeah.
And why was that?
I mean, first of all, it built confidence in myself and in the business, in that I was able to go and tell people from non-technical backgrounds what I wanted to do and get them to kind of believe in what I was doing, you know. The second bit was, there was a lot of sort of training along the way, so they gave a boot camp over a weekend in the Kingsley last year.
And that's the IBYE.
Yeah, that was essentially like a crash course in this is how you get a business up and running.
Brilliant.
So like that gave me a huge amount of knowledge, I guess. The second, or probably the most important thing it did then as well, was actually gave me good contacts into like the local enterprise office here in Cork City, or Enterprise Ireland, you know, and the support I've gotten from them over the past couple of months has been huge as well.
It sounds amazing. So what kind of advice then would you have to other young people that might be thinking startup?
So I would think, I guess there's no way. I would guess there's two things I've kind of learned, is that kind of positive thinking is nothing without the action that goes with it. So there's no point having all these great plans if you're not actually going to get up in the morning and do something that furthers the plan that day, you know. The second thing was actually what I learned at the boot camp, was just sort of learning how to tell your story. You know, people kind of buy into why you're doing things as opposed to what it is you're doing. So I think if you're able to articulate a bit of passion about what you're doing and show people what motivates you, they give you a lot more support, and it makes everything that little bit easier.
Fantastic. So the advice would be to reach out and find opportunities, yes, to enhance the skills perhaps that one needs to build.
Yeah, it's like that bit of advice that I got, that you're not going to do anything on your own. Yeah. You need a support network around you, from people who work directly in your team to companies that you work with on a regular basis, right out to the government agencies.
So IMERC is a really, it must have been a godsend for you to find that this is basically a co-working space but dedicated to marine tech.
Yeah, so I was becoming, or getting into IMERC at an early stage has been something we have been planning from day one.
Okay.
I was aware of IMERC probably before I developed the business idea, you know, so when the concept for the business came about, it was like, this has to be done in IMERC.
Fantastic. Well, you've made it this far, so
far so good.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Head up, and really wish you the very best of luck with the project as it progresses. And I can't wait to see the prototype working on a ship.
Me neither.
Darren Hayes, it's been a pleasure. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.